Let me introduce Professor Sudhanshu. He is a professor in National Law School, Bengaluru, and I'll hold on the mic to him. He is the host of the day, who's going to shoot pertinent questions, and we'll have an interactive session between Mr. Sudhanshu and myself. So over to you, Professor Sudhanshu.
Great, sir. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this special podcast on growth of India's infrastructure and role of India's relations in boosting the growth story. Vis-a-vis roads and highways, we have picked up this aspect of roads and highways for today's podcast. And I take this opportunity to welcome you, sir, welcome you on the panel. And since the introduction is already over, so without wasting time, we'll straight away go into the topics. As you are aware, Indian economy is on its course to become a US 10 trillion economy in around a decade's time. The major engine of this growth this time is infrastructure. Ambitious projects like the Chenab rail bridge in Jammu and Kashmir, rail-cum-road bridge across Brahmaputra River, as well as the national infra pipeline have boosted investments of almost 102 lakh crores or 1.02 trillion, with center and state near equal share of 39% and 40% respectively, and even 21% of the private sector. The NIP, complemented by PM's Gati Shakti plan, is dedicated to improving the logistical network. Dr. Shastry, what are your initial thoughts on infrastructure being the core driver of India's economic growth over the next few years?
Thanks, Professor Sudhanshu. Very interestingly, you started the discussion with various numbers, big numbers, 102 lakh crores. Now, when we see these numbers, this boosts the confidence that yes, so much of investment is going to happen in the infrastructure. And that is where the sector becomes very important. However, let me just add a few more numbers and few more points, and then I'll come to how it can be the core driver. As you said, 102 lakh, there are some numbers, 111 lakh crores is what the investment is going to happen in the NIP, in the National Infra Pipeline. Now, what does it mean for us? What does it mean for you and me? It's a huge number. I cannot even write it down on a piece of paper. It's a huge, so many zeros, such a big number. Now, what does it mean is, see it in this context, that the multiplier effect of any investment in infrastructure is generally 2.5 to 3 times. Now, when I say a multiplier effect, it means that you invest $1 in infrastructure, the GDP grows by 3 times, by $3. So an investment of 111 lakh crore in India for Indian infrastructure in the next few years will mean that Indian GDP is getting boosted by 333 lakh crores. So that's a huge number. On percentage terms, it is generally 10% of Indian GDP, which means overall you will give a fillip to the Indian GDP, the bigger size, by 3%. So if the GDP is slated to grow by, say, 6%, if you have this investment done, it will grow by, say, 9%. It's a huge boost. Now, what is the advantage of this GDP growth to you and me? See, if the GDP grows, this means you have higher per capita income, you have higher disposable income, the lifestyle improves. This means your and mine and even common man's life is going to improve if there is an investment in infrastructure. So that is why this is such a core driver of Indian economy, core driver for the investment, and this is the stage when we should make this investment, because that right now we have the youthful population, we have every single thing right. We are one of the global players in the market. We are the best of the technologies, best of the talent. So this is the time when to invest this money. This is one piece. Second part is, now again see this in context, that now there is 100% investment of FDI in road sector. And when we say FDI, now this is very important. See, when a person is investing in a company as an equity, this means this investor is so much confident about that economy, about that sector, that this person is ready to be part and parcel of that growth story. This person is ready to take the risk under equity. Equity is a very risky kind of investment, but a very high-paying investment. It is not a debt which gives you a sure return. It is not. It is an FDI which is coming into India in infrastructure sector. And that makes it even more interesting. So a lot of money getting invested domestically, a lot of FDI is coming to India. This means even the investors and the foreigners, they are bullish about this sector. And third thing, see this in this light, that an infrastructure, the capex, it is heavy capex heavy. If you have built a road from say point A to point B, 100-kilometer roads, it will cost you 500 crores or 600 crores. That is the investment. And the payback is 8 years, 10 years. The tolls will give you money in 10 years, 12 years time. So this means the person is bringing in money. The Indian domestic players, the Indian government is bringing in money. The foreigners are bringing in money. And that too in a sector with high capex, long payback. See the kind of bullishness this means they have on this sector. So this is why infrastructure is the core for the Indian economy. Number one, because of multiplier effect. 1 rupee in infrastructure means 3 times in GDP. Number two is the bullishness shown by the Indian government. And number three, the bullishness shown by the foreign investors. And despite the fact it's a capex heavy and long payback. And that is why, as you rightly pointed out, it's a very, very core sector to drive India's economy.
Shastry, considering the importance of the sector, and if we just focus right now on the private investment part, so can you brief us as to how the private investments have shaped up in the last one decade or 2 decades in this sector, please?
Yeah.
And also since many of our audience is from our law professionals who are young, if you could also brief us and enlighten us on the various business models that exist within this infrastructure space.
For sure, for sure. So I'll answer it in two parts. One is regarding the investment, and this is very interesting. Let's say you said past decade. Let's just take a longer example, say from 2005 onwards. Okay. In 2004, there was this political party's mantra that India is shining, and obviously they could not win it at that time. But then India is shining from then till today, it seems, and we are really becoming a very global player, though lots and ups and downs have in between. But if you see the investment in infrastructure from that period, 2005-06 to till date, say 2022, in these 15-16 years, a total of almost 5 lakh crore rupees have been invested in Indian infrastructure. That's a huge, huge number. Okay. Out of this, this entire 5 lakh crore is divided into 345 different projects, which pertains to road infrastructure, port, etc., etc. Out of those 345 projects, 260 projects were in road sector, in highway sector, and the amount collectively is 3 lakh crores. So out of the 5 lakh crore investment in past 15-16 years in infrastructure, 3 lakh crore has been into road sector, and that shows the kind of investment. Out of 345 projects, 260 projects for road infrastructure, where the investments have been made in past 15 or 16 years. And this entire data is available on pppindia.gov.in. Anybody can go and cross-check these things. So that means infrastructure has been the backbone of this economy for the last 15-16 years. And now we are going to we have really upped the ante, and now we are going to reap a lot of dividend because of this activity that we have done in past 15 years or so. Now, coming to the second part of it, that what is the base model? Before coming to model, I'll just tell you the investment which I've done very recently. 15 years is a big time. A lot of things have happened. But if you see just the last 2-3 years, especially after COVID, because most people felt that after COVID, the economy has slowed down and it is a global recession. Every industry has got a hit. But that is the beauty of the Indian resilience, Indian democracy, Indian governance, that we can show that with able governance and with the resilient economy that we can withstand anything. So if you see the Bharatmala phase 1 only in past few years, we have done pretty well, and lots of things have taken place. And almost 20% of that investment which has happened in past 2-3 years has come from private sector. And that is why it is a wonderful public-private partnership which is shaping up the Indian infrastructure growth story. Now, these are all big numbers, and it can be, as you said, there are young people listening to it. They may not understand and appreciate, okay, that what is all these projects and what are the various models. So I'll simplify it a bit, that what is this model and how it all has shaped up. And for that, we understand a little bit the historical background of how infrastructure has developed in the country. What has happened in the past 15 years, 20 years, just to give some kind of flavor to it. See, infrastructure, road primarily, is a state asset. It is a national asset, right? Therefore, it is constitutionally highways are in list 1, so it is central government's sphere of influence. Then there are state roads, PWDs. But then ultimately, road infrastructure, government has to provide. It's a sovereign function that they have to do. So initially they thought that, okay, the sovereign function, we will do it, we'll construct the road. And they only had EPC players. So the players will come, they will construct, they'll just take the money, and government has to maintain that road. But that was a model which was very bad on government coffer. A lot of inefficiencies because government bodies were monitoring it. There was no regulator to them, and slowly and gradually, the government or the policymakers, they found out that this is not something which is working for them. And that is when in 2005-06 and around that period, a very interesting model came, which is the PPP model, in which they said that let's have a public-private partnership. Now, what is this partnership? This partnership is the government said that, okay, a private player, I am giving you the road from point A to point B, say it's a 100-kilometer road. You construct the entire road, bring your own money, spend your own money, construct the road. I will give you whatever necessary support is there, so far as land acquisition is concerned, so far as some utility shifting is concerned, or any other approvals are concerned. I'll give you the support there, and there will be some state support for law and order, etc. But you are the one who have to construct the entire road. You have to bring your own finances, construct from road A to road B, and once you have constructed, collect tolls from the users, and for next 20-25 years, you have the right to collect this toll. And this is how the concession agreements came into picture. So concession means that government has given you this right to a private player. A concession has been awarded to a person that, okay, you have given a right to construct the road, spend some money, and then collect tolls for next 20-25 years. And this is how the entire PPP model came into being. It's a win-win model, because then the government inefficiencies were gone. Well, our government is not into actual construction. They do not have to monitor the EPC players for constructing. It's a private player who will always be vigilant with his money, how he's spending the money on the roads. And then he has to collect the toll also. And therefore, it is a very efficient model of the private efficiency, the Indian talent in the private sector that was utilized to the T in this model. So therefore, this was a successful model, and this is a model which is continuing till date. It has seen the last 15 years. However, there are many iterations to this. And this is what we're going to just discuss. So this model is called as BOT model, that is build, operate, transfer. And it is also called a DBFOT model sometimes, which is design, build, finance, operate, and transfer. There are final distinctions between BOT and DBFOT, but I'm not going to get into those as it will make things complex. So DBFOT is a private person is there. He has to design the entire road. He has to build the entire road, arrange finances, then operate it, collect the tolls, and then ultimately after 25 years, 30 years, transfer it back to government when government can use this as a toll-free road for the public service. Now, in this BOT model, since the toll collection is on the private sector, they felt that at times there are revenue risks, there are risks pertaining to regulatory, because regulation may change, tariff may change. There are construction and O&M risks. So they felt that 25 years is a very heavy risky period where they are not only they have invested money first upfront, but then they are still carrying a revenue risk, they're carrying a counterparty risk, they're carrying a regulatory change, regime risk. What if the policy changes, some risk, environmental law risk. So they were carrying a lot of risks on them. And therefore, it was felt that instead of a BOT toll, let's have a BOT annuity model. And that's how the BOT annuity model came into picture, whereby the government said, okay, you just construct the road, and what we will do is we'll just take away this revenue risk from you. You don't have to collect tolls, we'll collect tolls, but we'll pay you a fixed annuity every 6 months. For the next 15 years or next 20 years, for some concession period, we'll pay you a fixed annuity. And this is how the entire annuity model came into picture, that you will get fixed annuity. So whatever construction you have done, you will reap the benefit for some time. But then the private sector had a different problem, that when they have to arrange for finances to make the road, the finance costs are very costly. And the annuity are going to come in 15 years' time. So for them, this leverage was too much. This arbitrage was too much. So they have to invest the money today, and money 15 years down the line. That NPV, if the inflation goes up, then the NPV calculation goes for a toss. Because you calculated that, okay, I'll get this annuity, which will have this inflation for next 15 years. Say after 5 years, the inflation goes up, and the entire calculation, the entire project becomes not viable. Therefore, a new concept came, which is known as HAM, a hybrid annuity model. The government said, okay, you construct something, 40% of this construction cost will give you today only. So we'll finance it partly. So 40% of some cost we are giving you today. Now remaining 60% will give you in 15 years. So now there is a mix and match whereby they are getting some kind of an interest cost, O&M revenue, and some kind of principal repayment. So there's a mix and match of certain things. So therefore, all these models they developed. The BOT toll model, where the entire revenue risk was on the private player, who just built the road. BOT annuity model, where government is giving the annuity, but then they felt that the interest cost they're not getting, the finance cost is not being managed. And therefore, the BOT HAM model, where government is upfront giving you some part payment of 40%, and then 60% is coming in some 15 years installments. So this is our model. Interestingly, NHA has come with a fourth model also recently in 2016, which is the TOT model. NHA said, I want to monetize my asset. I already have a lot of assets which I myself have constructed in past. So why should I go and collect toll? So they came with the TOT model. They said, okay, let the private players come in, let them operate this road for 15 years and collect toll. And I will monetize it because I have the surplus asset already with me. So they have passed on their revenue risk. So sometimes they'll come with TOT bids and the private players will bid for this TOT and they'll get the right to collect toll, which on an already built road. Obviously, they have to maintain that road for some time. And they have to pay some money upfront to the government or to NHAI. So this is again the fourth model, which is in force for the last 4-5 years. So these are the four different models: BOT toll model, BOT annuity model, BOT HAM model, and the TOT model, which are in force right now.
So bringing back the discussions in the present context, there are some initiatives that have been taken in India in the recent past to club that. The Indian Prime Minister had a recent visit to the US, United States of America, and that has resulted in significant developments and potential partnership in various sectors, paving the way for future growth and collaboration between the two countries. In your opinion, how do you think the strategic alliance between the US and India can bolster the growth of the Indian infrastructure space?
Yeah, very, very interesting question. Though, just for the reference of audience, if you simply go to the DIP website or RBI website, and you find out that which are the major players who are investing in India, the major countries from where the FDI is coming, you will find that almost 50% of the FDI is coming from two countries, and US is not featuring in those two countries. That is, one is Mauritius, one is Singapore. US is third, a distant third with only 9% or 10% investment coming from US. Very interestingly, however, it is quite possible that there are US investors or US people who are bringing in money through Singapore or Mauritius. So therefore, my advice will be to the listeners and to the audience that don't get misled by the fact that, okay, money is coming from Mauritius or Singapore. Sometimes the investors have pooled investment vehicles together, which they put it in Mauritius or in Singapore. So therefore, this is again a very interesting, pertinent thought that how India can help. Because right now the ties between US and India are on the peak. Maybe I don't know. Maybe US need India more now than how much we need them. Because now we have made our own brand. We have made our own space in the geopolitical territory. US is now, I don't know, struggling a bit from where they were. So maybe they need us more. Second is we have a very vibrant economy. And third thing, and so as infrastructure is concerned, understand this, that see, India is a very unique country in that sense. Geography-wise, we are not that big. We are as big as South Africa or Argentina. Population-wise, we are world's largest, maybe, or maybe second largest, very near to China. Very soon we can surpass. So see, from an infrastructure perspective, that too from road and highway perspective, this becomes the most lucrative destination. Because see, if you have built a 100-kilometer road by spending some 500, 600, 700 crore rupees, you are going to get the maximum advantage because the traffic will be heavy here. Because a lot of people are flying on that road. So vis-a-vis, if that road was constructed somewhere else where the number of people were not that many, the number of users were not that many. And that makes India the hot cake, the destination to be in. And that's why, so far infrastructure is concerned, and so far as the road infrastructure is concerned, India is doing pretty well. Now, coming back to the US-India tie, President Modi has visited US and we have done a lot of good deals between the two countries. However, there is nothing specific on road infrastructure, on road highways or infrastructure pertaining to road or highway as such. However, one thing is good in all this endeavor is that one thing is very clear in the minds of even the US businessmen, that they have to now bring their factories, they have to bring stuff to India. Now, if they are going to bring things to India, everything is complementary. So if industries are coming to India, obviously they will need logistical support, they will need roads, they will need highways, so everything feeds into other. And this means more and more investment into infrastructure. That is one thing. Second thing is, you take all the top INVIT and REIT investments in India. Who are the investors? You will see most of the investors are the US-based investors, or else there are pooled investment funds in Singapore or in Mauritius, where again, there's a lot of investment coming from US. So therefore, USA is a strategic partner. However, I would have wished that India and USA would have made some kind of a FTA or something on infrastructure per se specifically, giving a boost to the infrastructure. However, I think this is not very far when US India will have a strategic alignment on this. Despite that, also a lot of investment from US is coming to India into infrastructure sector. And just one more point I would like to add here is, if you see just last few bigger deals, like Adani Hindenburg, people might have heard about. So after Hindenburg, which is the entity which invested into Adani Group? It was GQT, a US firm again. So that is the most interesting thing. So US is still very confident. US investors are very, very confident that India is where the growth story lies. And now Chinese downfall, because of a variety of reasons, because of their policies, etc., is to India's advantage. And I think that in coming times, we'll see even bigger investment from US to India.
So if we can focus a bit on, so we understand the US involvement in the Indian infrastructure space, and obviously that story will go on because of the strategic alliance between the two countries. If we can focus on the Indian space and Indian lawmaking and policy making space, some recent developments have happened on the policy level as well. So if we can, if you can highlight some of the changes or some of the things that at the policy level is happening at the central level, which we need to know about.
So, and that is very much required, because if the Indian policies are not aligned, if the bureaucracy and the government and administration is not aligned, investments either will not come, or if they will come, they will not hold for long. So therefore, and good part about this administration or this government is that they are very much aligned towards the investment in India. A case in point is, if you see the recent union budget, which has come out, 2023-2024 union budget, it all has lots of good points or strategic points so far as infrastructure is concerned. To name a few, the capital investment which they wanted to put on the Indian, for the Indian infrastructure is as high as 10 lakh crores, which is almost 3.3% of Indian GDP. So that is what they want to put into Indian infrastructure right now, and which is a huge money, where the capital budget itself is saying that we will have, or union budget itself is saying that we'll have a capital outlay of 10 lakh crores. As I said, a 10 lakh crore outlay means an economic fillip of almost 30 lakh crores. So the multiplier effect will ensure that your other industries will get benefited to that tune. A very interesting investment. And to streamline this huge investment, what they have done is they have created an infrastructure finance secretariat. Now, this IFS, Infrastructure Finance Secretariat, is the one which keeps on telling the private sector that what are the various opportunities. All the opportunities which the government is bringing in is on a website now. You simply go there, check the opportunities, bid there, find out what it is there. It's a wonderful, wonderful initiative. Again, union budget, whereby on a single website, people can see what various circulars have come, what are the various initiatives, what are the various things in pipeline, and then accordingly can plan about the investment. Third thing very interestingly is, and which is a very interesting initiative, which I feel is, which government has taken, is that they have, so one is the central investment, as I said, one is the highways, which are in the union list within the sphere of center. But then there are state roads, there are district roads to be made, and there is a lot of potential even there. For that, the central government has given a 50-year interest-free loan to state government. So what they have done is they have ensured that, okay, we are going to give you money. And that money is also not less, it is also to the tune of almost 1.3 lakh crore. So what the union government has done, they have given a huge amount of money to state governments as an interest-free loan, because they know if that money is again invested in state infrastructure, the multiplier effect is same. It will boost the state economy 2.5 to 3 times. So that is where the beauty of the strategic thinking is that no, I do not want to keep everything in the center, but I want to give it to the states also, so that the entire economy gets a fillip. So that is again a very interesting initiative, I will say, which the government has taken amongst many. Lastly, what I'll say is, so far as road is concerned, every single thing is all complementary. Like we had seen the single window scheme earlier, how the approvals are coming faster now, even ensuring that 100% FDI comes into road sector. So along with these initiatives, what they have done is they have now ensured that the different sectors, they have a very symbiotic relationship. They feed into each other. And for that, what they have done is they have also focused in the union budget about the infrastructure transport projects. So they have ensured that where roads are required to connect ports, roads are required to connect steel plants, roads are required to connect other fertilizer plants. So not only on road infrastructure that they have focused on, but to ensure that these areas, these ports, these plants, the steel manufacturing, even they are bolstered, even they are given certain packages so that it will feed into the road infrastructure, and a good road connectivity will feed into them that their products will be sold faster, will reach the market faster. So this is how the government has taken lots of initiative, very thoughtful initiative, even in the last 1 year or in some time. Obviously, if I go on the last 5-7 years, the list is very long, especially making ease of business, ensuring that the policies are streamlined, ensuring that we have a model concession agreement whereby people know that this is what is there in store, this is what the legal framework is, ensuring that there are arbitration and there are dialogues or mediation before arbitration so that the disputes can be solved earlier. Like GST claims and all, the government has taken a lot of steps to ensure that those claims are tackled with. And likewise for COVID, a lot of COVID claims were there. So government has ensured to a larger extent that yes, these claims are paid. So along with that, these are which I outlined, these 3-4 things are something which are over and above those generic kind of benefit that the government has given, or measures that they have taken, especially this capital outlay of 10 lakh crores, giving state free interest to ensure that even state income is boosted, creating an IFS whereby on a site you can go and check what projects are there, and to ensure that all the other things which connected to the road is also bolstered in the same policy document. So therefore, this is what I feel are the initiatives which the government has taken.
So talking about initiatives, one of the things that you mentioned earlier as well, and we also recognize the fact that one of the ways of investment and which became popular in recent times, and there are two spaces, one is the infrastructure and one is real estate. And one of the methods that have been popularized through a collective investment vehicle is in the form of infrastructure investment trust or real estate investment trust. So if we can throw some light on the InvITs, as it is popular called, in its role in the infrastructure space, and if at all, say for example, if there are any legal challenges or other challenges in terms of its rightful implementation.
All right, Dr. Sudhanshu, very pertinent question. Interestingly, InvIT 2014, it started, and REIT, the Real Estate Infrastructure Trust, they are the one to create a very interesting investment scenario in the country. I'll talk about InvIT in a bit, but before that, let's just understand why we need such trust, why it is required. Now, see, as we discussed, that there are, so as a private player, as an investor, I see a road from point A to point B. I have made that road, and I'm collecting tolls. Now, if something goes wrong in that project, I'm stuck there as a private investor. But now suppose I have 20 such investments, I have 30 such investments, and investments are such, or the projects are such that if I feel something at one particular place, if there are some delays at one particular place, but in the meanwhile, at some other project, I'm doing fine, I'm doing more than expectation. So my overall things will get balanced out. So this consolidation helps. So the economies of scale help. But then the structure is such, the legal structure is such that there are different companies. Like even if I have money, if I have invested say in a particular SPV, it is one SPV which is different from an SPV which is having a road asset in other state. So likewise, for different geographies, for different stretches, I have different SPVs. So though it's my own one, but then I cannot utilize or consolidate my these different SPVs. So if I'm suffering loss at one SPV, I'm making profit in another SPV, I'm still paying taxes in that SPV, but my these losses are not taken care of. So ultimately, I'm losing out on a consolidated basis. And this was a thought process that what if we allowed them to consolidate these things? That is one. And if you consolidate, then it's quite possible that if I've suffered losses somewhere, I can set it off somewhere else. So there was a thought process how they want to have all these things pulled together. Second is, but when you're pulling it together and creating small units which can be traded, so this will help investors to invest. It will help even the smaller investors, retail investors, to get the benefit of that pie. So to invest in REITs, to invest in InvITs, and take advantage from the infrastructure sector. And also this sector will get boost from that retail investment. Obviously, there will be big players will have bigger chunk, but then there will be smaller players also who can invest in this growth story. So it will make access to funds even bigger if you have such kind of a pooled resource. And third thing, why such InvIT and REIT make sense is because of the corporate governance. See, infrastructure in general is otherwise very, very infamous. But then when we have an InvIT structure, now the entire InvIT, you see, it's a very beautifully crafted, legally crafted structure, whereby it always there are parties to InvIT. Now, who are the parties to InvIT? There are three primary parties to InvIT. One is the trustee, which is completely different. One is the investment manager, which has the overall objective to ensure that the investments are taken care of. And then the project manager, the operation person who has to operate and ensure that this infrastructure is run properly. Now, see, the person who's running the business, who's on the ground, the project manager, is being monitored by an IM. There is always a maker checker. So there is always there's a separate person who's cross-checking that, okay, what you are doing is right or not. So there is one. And then there's a trustee, there's a completely different person who again has an oversight and who has the right under Regulation 9 to cross-check certain things. So therefore, the investors who are the unit holders, you'll always have the advantage and belief that, okay, the entire corporate governance structure is such whereby there's a trustee who's taking care of things, there's an IM who's taking care of things, and there's a PM which is actually operating it. So what you have done is you have segregated the operating person from the one who are responsible for the investment. So that is a very interesting structure. Along with that, the responsible person, if something goes wrong, is the compliance officer of the IM. So this is the beauty. So that is why the IM person will always have all the more insight as to what the project manager is doing or what the operations are being done. Because if I am doing operations, I will always have the tendency to brush under the carpet things which are not going right. But then since the compliance officer of IM is responsible, obviously he will have more oversight, more monitoring, and these things will come out in light that, okay, so you have to do things right, you have to correct these things which may hurt us in a bigger way later. So the structure is a very beautifully crafted structure, and all these three, the IM, the PM, the trustee, are parties to the InvIT, responsible to ensure that the InvIT runs very, very well. In addition to that, see, the entire surplus cash flow which comes, the entire net distributable cash flow, 90% of this has to go back. So this means I cannot keep the money with me. So I'll have no incentive of keeping money with me, because whatever money comes, I have to give it back to the investors. The flip side is, obviously, then you will have nothing for any capital expansion. You will not have money for that. If you want to have that money, again, we have to do a right issue. You have to call for money from the investors. That is a flip side, that there's some process involved. But then the idea is that so that whatever surplus money is there is automatically distributed to unit holders. So unit holders who have invested get the returns immediately. So they do not have to wait for a very long payback time. And lastly, the interesting point here is, as I said, it's a long payback infrastructure. But because the entire structure which has been created, the idea is that the investment will only be made through InvIT in already constructed assets. So therefore, a larger investment, 80% of the investment can only be done whereby you are going to get returns immediately. So 80% has to be on those projects which are revenue generating. And that means the investors from day one are getting the money, and the construction risk is taken care of to a larger extent. It has gone down. So now see from the investor's perspective, let's put all these things together. See from the investor's perspective, investors have invested. So this person has made a road from point A to point B. He has made someone over that EPC. Now this person is collecting toll. Now this project is ready. Now this road is ready. Now this person drops it into an InvIT. InvIT has different unit holders. So this person gets his money, whatever he has paid over that EPC immediately, he gets this exit. So this person who has invested, who has won the bid and has made this road from A to B, once the construction is over, he just drops this asset into InvIT and gets an exit. InvIT, because it can only get these kind of assets which are revenue generating, will consolidate such multiple assets. Economy of scale will come into picture, consolidation will come into picture, and they have 90% of net distributable cash flow will go to the unit holder. So the unit holders are happy because they are getting money from day one. This person who won the bid is happy because he has invested, he has made the road, he has done the EPC. After the road is constructed, he got the exit by putting the asset to the InvIT. So everyone is happy, and then the circle keeps on moving on. And this person will again bid with the money that he got from the InvIT for second project. He'll again construct second road. Road is constructed. He will drop the asset back to InvIT, and the cycle continues. So this entire model ensures efficiency, ensures that there is a dominant effect there is a chain effect. And therefore, the money keeps on changing hands and ensuring that a lot of surplus money is available for more and more bids.
We do understand in terms of the domestic investment vehicles, but is it also available to foreign investors, or is there an alternate structure? And if they are facing any issues or regulatory or otherwise in terms of investment in infrastructure?
So first of all, this is so in far as road is concerned, we have 100% FDI. In fact, in an REIT, if you see, if anybody Googles that who are the top REITs, you will find the name of Brookfield and Blackstone, Embassy, and people like that. So there are foreign investors both in REIT and InvIT also. InvIT has a lot of foreign investors who have shown a lot of interest. But very right question that you asked, Professor Sudhanshu, is regarding what are the challenges? Because till now we're just talking about everything is hunky-dory. So is it so? Is the infrastructure so great? There's no problem, making a lot of money, huge money, 1 lakh, what is that, 100 lakhs crore rupees? Is infrastructure that big? Is everybody is making so much of money? That can't be, because there's no sector that it never happens. Whenever there's a rose, there'll always be some thorns. There has to be some flip side, and there are quite a few even in this space, which I'll just outline as at least my own personal feeling about it. But before that, just want to see in InvIT or in REITs, there are investments and there are foreign players. However, so far the regulatory regime is concerned, given that now there's 100% FDI, the regulatory regime remains the same for both the foreign players and the domestic players. For repatriation, they are allowed to have repatriation. It all depends on what channel they have used to bring in the money. For them, even the FPI VRR route, voluntary retention route, is available. So if they bring money from there, then they have to have a hold on for 3 years before they can take the money away. So there are different regulatory rules. But given that in infrastructure, the capex is heavy, the investment is payback time is larger. So generally, this money they will have sufficient time. So regulation won't come in picture for them to repatriate the money. So therefore, on that it is more or less a level playing field. However, for foreign investors, there are some more hindrances or some more challenges that they have to overcome, especially from the foreign exchange laws perspective. Then they have to invest in a particular way. They have to do some more filing, some more compliances. So that is one. But now the major problems or the bigger chunks. See. In all these models, as we discussed, whether it was BOT toll model, where you have a private player has done something and he has the right to collect toll, or BOT annuity model, he has paid the money, but he's going to get annuity from the government, or BOT HAM model, where again he has put the money and he's getting some money from government. And all these three, only advantage HAM or annuity model gives is that they protect the revenue risk. In toll, even the revenue risk is also on the private player. So you have to put the money first, construct the road, run it for 25 years in BOT toll. Now, in that 25 years, if the traffic goes down, if people don't pay money, or there are alternate ways, suppose they're flying cars now, if they do not use the road infrastructure anymore, there are the revenue risks. And that is in BOT toll. So that risk is also there. But even in BOT annuity or BOT HAM, what government has protected a little bit is just that revenue side. But then the flip side is that there is no upside also. Even the traffic increases, the private player is not going to get anything. He's going to get fixed annuity or fixed HAM, a hybrid annuity. Okay. So that's the flip side. So they are losing out on their revenue. That's why they're getting some kind of assurances. So therefore, they don't gain anything between BOT toll or BOT annuity or BOT HAM. The private player, they do not get anything extra. But all the other risks, so what are the various risks in an infrastructure sector or in an infrastructure project? So primarily, there can be four risks that can be there. Number one is the construction risk itself. Because to construct something is not that easy. To make roads, even if you have to make 4-lane or 6-lane highways, that may have its own risks. There are risks of land acquisitions. It's quite possible that out of the 100-kilometer stretch, 50 kilometers you have made, then for the next 5 kilometers, there are land acquisition issues. There are people, there are political issues, they're not letting you that land. Then you cannot complete the entire 100 kilometers, you cannot collect toll, you have no right, and you are just, whatever money you have invested for that 50 kilometers is now a dead investment. So see the pain of a private player, because that risk is still on the private player. So that entire construction risk still remains. Number two is the finance risk. The entire responsibility of arranging finances is on the private player. Now, when you are having a finance risk, this means the inflation, the interest rate hike, or whatever, or maybe the hedge risks. If there's a dollar rupee, if the rupee goes, it depreciates, all those risks are with the private player. So the entire finance risk is still with the private player. Then the third thing is the policy risk or the regulatory risk per se. what if the government changes and the law changes? Because as I said, the payback is 10 years. Payback is not that easy. Payback is 12 years, 14 years, 15 years. Now, if there are regulatory changes, like what happened is there's a GST which came, which then enhanced the rate of GST from 12% to 18% suddenly. Now, that kind of thing, or earlier there was something was GST exempt, they put GST on it. So those kind of changes create a lot of regulatory risk, and people understand the private sector, they get sentimental and they get hurt that, okay, I am investing, whether the regime is going to remain as suitable as I have invested, will the regime change or not? Like very recently, SEBI LODR has made a lot of changes for InvIT compliances. Therefore, so this policy changes, regulatory changes, may create a dilemma in the mind of the private player that whether they are really investing and whether the next 10, 12 years, because they're taking a huge risk. Because this regulatory regime has to remain valid for next 12 years for their assumptions to come or to hold true. So that is where the bigger risk is. However, there are ample opportunities, and then if there's a change in law provision in concession agreement, then go and claim these things from the government. But then it's easier said than done, because claiming something is not that easy. The arbitration route, they are very slow. India comes at 162 rank out of 192 countries when it comes to enforcement of contract. See, our rank is 162 out of 192 countries. So that is a very, very poor record. It never gives any confidence, not even to a domestic investor and not at all to an international investor, that, okay, if that is how the contracts are valued in this country, I don't think that will give any confidence to anybody. So therefore, we have to do a lot of things here. And lastly, is the revenue risk, which, as I said, is something which government has tried to do something, but then again, they have to give up. The private sector has to give up a lot of things to even get some kind of protection. So it is not a benefit which government has given, but it is basically a give and take. So now what should be done? So at least there are certain things which are in government's hand. For example, if it's government's duty to do land acquisition, if it's government duty to do certain things, and if they fail, then the government itself has to come out and make good whatever losses the private sector has suffered. Now there have to be a clear-cut policy, and there is a clear-cut intent to do these things. Number two, regulations cannot change. You can have smaller changes here there, but the broader regulations, if a person has invested so heavily based on certain regime, that regime cannot change. You cannot just change the fundamentals on which I have invested, or then you are changing the goalpost once I have started playing the game. Last is this contract enforcement has to be faster. The Indian judiciary, the Indian system, the mediation, something they have to do to ensure that we honor our contracts. Whatever is written in the contract, we have to honor that. Otherwise, it becomes a very, very big bottleneck in doing this.
Just that you mentioned, so in terms of construction risk, the finance risk, the policy risk, and the revenue risk. To add to that, if I have to, since we all law people, we have to look at also how the judiciary responds to such a space, and how do they look at infrastructure space. In the past, we have had cases at all forums against infrastructural projects. So do we have an understanding of how the judiciary is responding to such investments and such projects?
Very interesting. In fact, there are many cases for judiciary, but just I'll quote one or two very interesting things which will give you how judiciary is, how is judiciary approach towards this agreement. One or two examples which are really good for the investors, one or two which may not be that great. I'll just try to bring forth both the perspectives. Interestingly, now, when as I said, so the entire base of any infrastructure project is a concession agreement. It is that agreement which is the fundamental piece of document on what basis the rights of concessionaire and the NHA authority is determined. On that basis, they get the right to collect toll or the right to get the annuity and whatever the liabilities, responsibilities, and the rights, they all are stemming from that piece of document which is called as concession agreement. Now, see, as I said, it is a concession agreement. Now, when it is concession, this means I am constructing a road and I have a right to collect revenue for some time, or I have a right to get annuities from government. Now, courts at times have interpreted that this is not a concession agreement. For a statutory perspective, it is a lease. It is a long-term lease that has been given to you, a 25-year lease, 30-year lease. Now, that creates a very interesting dilemma or dichotomy in an approach. Lease are ad valorem. The stamp duty is ad valorem, 5% generally in many states. Now, on what this 5% will be levied? On the project cost, So do you think that I have invested 500 crores or 1,000 crores, I have to pay 50 crores more for stamp duty? Now, this is my own cost on which you are saying that I have to pay more duty. Likewise, if it is on the revenue, now that is projected revenue, which I think I will get in next 25 years or calculating in my financial model. If you put lease ad valorem on that, that is just a paper money, that's just a paper assumption that I have not got anything. So by this kind of judgment, when we are treating this as a lease, not a concession agreement, it creates, that is what I'm saying, this creates that problem, the framework, and it creates an uncertainty that you cannot figure out what is the model I should use. Whether I should use the total project cost 5% I should add to it, or whether I should cost the revenue and put some model there. So it creates a lot of confusion. Therefore, such judgments, I'm saying, not only regulation at times, as you said, sometimes judiciary plays an important role, and therefore, even judiciary should think through that what can be the impact of these things. Now you see 5% stamp duty, and if the investment, as we are discussing, of to the tune of 111 lakh crore, so you see the kind of stamp duty which is going up. So whatever government is giving, government is making much more just by this kind of tweaking in things. Whereas concession agreement cannot be treated as lease in a more logical sense. But now it's a debatable topic. It's a legal fight. I'm just putting one point across that how the judgments impact the infrastructure industry. This is one example whereby it has impacted most of the private players slightly in a negative sense. But there are positive judgments also. Very interestingly, Supreme Court recently said that do not issue stay for an infrastructure project, even if there is an arbitrariness, even if there's a complete arbitrariness in awarding of contract, awarding of project, don't issue stay. Let the person who has suffered get his compensation, get his rights under the contractual law. But let us not suspend infrastructure projects. This is a very welcome step. Because then it gives the certainty, if I am the winner, if I am the bidder, if I have won something, I can just go on and do things. And if somebody has suffered a loss, that person's remedy lies in his compensation. And he cannot just make my project stop and I get a stay, and for the next 20 years or 30 years or 10 years, I'm fighting in court of law, and then that project is gone, is just wasted. So that's a very welcome step which the government has taken. So which judiciary has pronounced. So therefore, there are instances between judiciary and between which are good instances and bad instances. So there's a bouquet of all types of judgments.
Coming back to policy making, sir, this is my policy making. I am extending this questions a bit, but in terms of the recent changes, for example, an expert committee has been set up by the recommendation of the Law Commission on the amendments to the made to the arbitration law. Similar to that, how do you see and what changes do you see in terms of or relaxation, say for example, that you see that the government may award in this sector for further improvement or further development?
No, the government is doing a lot of things. So let me say, so these are hitches, but then government's intent is right, and that is what really pleases me. That at least the intent is right, and sometimes you try things, they may fail. So government is trying, as I said, the union budget is a good budget where they are putting a lot of things. They are given 10 years of tax break. That okay, you take 10 years of tax break so that you can your payback, you can get the payback on time. So they have done a lot of things. But as rightly said, like arbitration, now these things have to improve in this country. I feel that Indian talent, Indian lawyers, the mediation, arbitration, we have a lot of talent available, and that has been nurtured properly. And therefore, now this is, I feel, has both government and judiciary have to play a role together here. The judiciary and the government have to understand how they can ensure that these private arbitration mediation can help in this project. As I said, if we can improve on our contract performance, if that certainty can come, first of all, of regulatory regime, that this is what the regulations are and they're going to remain fundamentally the same. And second is, if our contracts get enforced faster, if somebody, otherwise, this creates a lot of litigation which are bad litigations or which caters self-pity litigation. See, if I know I have to pay Sudhanshu 100 crores, and I know generally I have to pay Sudhanshu, then I can drag him in court for 5 years. After 5 years, I will lose. For 5 years, I'm sitting on a free credit. After 5 years, if I feel I'm losing something, and Sudhanshu also needs money, we'll just engage, okay, let's negotiate, let's do an out-of-court settlement, and let me pay you 50 crore rupees. So ultimately, as my own conduct, I'm taking advantage of it. I'm waiting for 5 years, and then I'm paying only 50 crores or 50-60%. So this is what we should end. That is where both judiciary and government has to take a lot of steps.
Right. So since we are at the end of our session, we are already done with 1 hour. As a concluding remark, Dr. Shastry, how do you see the future of infrastructure space in India?
So just 2 small comments. One is infrastructure is going to be the driver of India's economy. As I said, the multiplier effect of 3 is a huge multiplier effect. 1 lakh crore rupees invested in India means 3 lakh crores, and 100 lakh crore invested in infrastructure means 300 lakh crore, Philip, which is something is going to be the key driver. Second, why infrastructure is so good, given the InvIT, given the regulatory framework, given the intent which the government is there, given the various plans, the Bharatmala Pariyojana, the National Highway Development Plan, the Delhi-Mumbai Express Corridor, and so on and so forth, the NIT, the Gati Shakti, the entire intent of the government, the entire intent of administration is onto this. So therefore, I feel that this is the place, as you said, there are young lawyers and young finance professionals. I say this is the place to be in. Because obviously we need engineers. Obviously they are the engine to construct roads. But then we need good lawyers and good finance professionals who understand these nuances better, so that they can frame right agreements, they can do right things, they can ensure right framework, right compliance framework, right financial frameworks that help the company, help the private sector, help the government in bolstering India's infrastructure sector. I feel I'm very, very bullish about this infrastructure sector in India, at least for the next decade or so.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Shastry. And to sum up for the audience as well, what we discussed today, basically, as Dr. Shastry explained, how the infrastructure space will be or is the core driver of the economy, and in his words, is the backbone of the economy. We also discussed how private sector has played a role in developing infrastructure hand in hand with the government, and how the US relationship will affect or has affected in that space. Dr. Shastry also explained, and I will invite questions on that as well, the different models that are there in the space, whether it's the BOT model or the annuity model or the HAM model, say, for that matter. And then we move into the policy making and policy requirements, say, for that in that space. And we also, along with that, considered some of the challenges or the problems that are there in the sector, including the role of the judiciary or the judicial intervention that has happened here. And lastly, we also discussed some of the policy changes that are required, in addition to some of the laws that affect the infrastructure space. We did go into also the question of InvITs and how that plays as an important role in the investment in infrastructure. So to sum up, we have covered both policy and law in this session. So if there are any questions from the audience in vis-a-vis the infrastructure space or InvIT or policy making, may I invite those questions now? You can put up your questions in the chat box, I suppose. So there is a question from one of the members from the audience. It says, road and railways play a complementary role in logistics chain. Considering the drawbacks and limitations of the Indian railways, to what extent can the road infrastructure step to carry the burden?
Very pertinent question. I do not know who has asked this, but yes, road and rail. Interestingly, some time back, when the British were there, they thought that rail is the one which is going to connect India, and the rail infrastructure at the time really connected India well, because roads were not that great, and obviously there were now no motor vehicles of current sophistication. And at the time, rail was the one which connected India. But now, as you rightly said, because of the regulatory restrictions, because railway is not privatized, and there are many issues there, road has to step up. The road infrastructure has to step up, and just stepping up right now. To see the entire Golden Quadrilateral, entire DME, the entire NHDP, and so on and so forth. A road is now playing that role. Road is stepping up to ensure that connectivity, that need is taken care of. And you see, I guess Small might have heard Mr. Gadkari giving his speeches that I'll ensure that Jaipur to Delhi will be 2 hours, Jaipur to Chandigarh will be some hours. I don't remember the exact hours, but he said that, and that is what the focus of the government is. It is the Minister of Amor saying that I am going to make the roads of such quality that you are going to just zoom past long distances just like that, and that's how road is complementing railways. So I totally agree with the suggestion or with the comment that yes, now road has to step up, and road is stepping up. But rail also has to step up. We have to bring in a great rail infrastructure. Somehow that focus on railways have to come in. The PPP model has to come to railways also. We have to ensure that all these great technologies of bullet trains, etc., come in the railway sector, and maybe the same model which we have in road can be replicated in railways, or with whatever changes are required to suit the railways specific changes should be wrong.
Right. No, I don't see another question, Dr. Shastry, and we also at the end of our 1 hour session, and I think we are on time, and I'm happy to say that we have completed this in 1 hour, though it's a very wide topic. Let me thank you, Dr. Shastry, for taking out your precious time for this session. I hope the audience did take something from that. And we hope that you will be part of other panel discussions as well when we extend this entire strategic alliances that India has with other countries and extend beyond infrastructure and probably move into tech and move into AI for that matter, which is the recent development. And we'll have you for those sessions as well. So let me thank you from my end to answer all my questions and my queries. And we hope that we find time again to do this.
Thanks a lot, Professor Sudhanshu, and thanks a lot, Taxmann, for having me. The views expressed by me are personal. That's a usual disclaimer. But the question that Professor Sudhanshu asked are very pertinent, very to the point. And as Professor Sudhanshu rightly said, it's a vast topic, and it is the expertise of a professor of Judicial Law School, Bengaluru, who can ensure that a person like me can finish things in 1 hour. That is the champion, Professor Sudhanshu Kumar. Kudos to you. And thanks for consenting for this, and thanks for being here and asking such pertinent questions.